asking people how they're doing and start asking people how they're feeling.
So I gotta make sure I'm watching the news.
I will never waste pain that's offered to me. Nothing is ever wasted.
Everybody that I gotta play the week gon' be straight. And that we tie that red that you won't hit, so you better not be late.
This is a place of development, and I'm not gonna die here. Dang.
Cause I love it, I don't care about the fame.
Yo, welcome to the Young Vagabond podcast, man. I'm your co-host, Bryson.
I'm your co-host, DJ.
And this is season 3, episode 1. We back for another one on another run. You feel me?
You feel me?
You feel me? You hear me, but can you feel me?
Ooh, man. It's good to be back, Bryson.
Here.
It's good to be with the guys. We got Travis in the back. Shout out, Travis. Shout out to the break and to all that it was, man. We're going to be talking about it. It's going to be good. Super excited. But before we get into it, of course, I'd like to remind y'all, if you are watching, to follow or to subscribe. If you're watching, subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening, follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or whatever platform you use. If you're a Pocket Cast person, Google Podcast person, I think they got Amazon Podcast, wherever you are, just if you could please go ahead and hit that follow. Also, make sure to follow our Instagram and I was about to say Snapchat. I don't know why I say that. We don't have a Snapchat. That's not. You know, there was a time they were doing that, like businesses were having Snapchats and show up on the Snapchat spotlight. You know, with the I married my dog. You know, like you know them stories. Yeah, no, we don't want that. So, anyways, don't follow the Snapchat. But do follow the Instagram.
From Young Vagabond, it is not us.
Exactly, bro. So yeah, do that. And follow the TikTok, follow all the platforms. You can find it in the link in the description. Also, of course, we got merch, and so if you ever want to go out and buy some merch, we would appreciate that. That's a way to support the pod. Also, get you something dope. Of course, as we say, man, this merch is cool, man. It's not lame merch. Shout out to 224 and to Lane and to all those people who do the work and helping us get that together. And also, if you just want to support the podcast, also the Cashapp and PayPal, they're down below in the link in the description. So we got that as well. Of course, thank you to Travis. As always, man, we've been putting a lot of work off season, getting things ready. I'm excited to bring another dope season of stuff here to you. We probably got some other cool things in the pipeline coming soon. Man, so it's going to be a good season, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for the people we're having on. We're going to finally talk about relationships, which that's the most highly requested thing to talk about, you know. I'm going to let Bryson say it during the time, but there's a certain season that'll be coming up, right? And so we'll be talking about that season. Anyways, man, so we got that coming up and some other cool episodes, some cool guests we also got coming up, man. So it's going to be exciting. And then lastly, we'll encourage y'all, if this podcast touches you in any way, man, please let us know. Send us a comment or a DM. We really appreciate those. Those are sweet. And, of course, if it touches you and you believe it can be beneficial to someone else, share, and help get the name and the word out there, because we're just tribal young people and old people trying to just navigate this journey of life through truth and love. And so, yeah, man. Well, Bryson, how you feeling, man?
Man, I'm feeling blessed. A little bit stressed, but we blessed.
Hey, man, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? How you feeling, though, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm tired, sleepy. I tried this melatonin for the first time. We had a flood in Oak Hall. Shout out to the Oak residents and to the Oak staff. Shout out to my boss, bro. I appreciate her. Shout out.
Always need a little water to help the tree grow.
Yeah, but not that kind of water. We did not.
I mean, it is Oak.
We weren't. Man, no. I get it. I got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. No. No, that wasn't. I didn't like that water at all. That was not cool water. So yeah, we had a flood. Woke us up at 2:50 because the fire alarm went off.
AM.
Because AM. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Not PM, AM, and this wasn't because it was just like some little drips. Nah, man, this was a flood. Like I'm not it's not a hyperbole when I say flood. And the reason it set the fire alarm off is because it was hot water. And so it was causing a steam. And so you see, if you're watching on YouTube, you see this room that we're recording in, right? And so the room that we're recording in, it's about, I don't know, you want to like ballpark, like how long it is? You know, it's probably like
10 feet.
10 feet, something like that.
I'm just messing with you, bro. It's more than 10.
It probably is. I was going to be like, I don't know. Like 10 feet sounds good. Probably like 25, 50 something feet. I don't know. It's definitely not 50 feet. No, it's probably like 35, something like that. Anyways, still good, decently sized study room, right? Mm-hmm. The classroom is about twice the size of one of these rooms, if not 3 times the size. And it looked like a sauna. So imagine this room right here that we're in right now, and imagine it 3 times bigger, completely filled up with steam. It was crazy, to say the least. And so because like the classrooms, they're like windows mostly, they're pretty cold in there. They were like probably like 45 degrees in there, but it had warmed up to almost 90 degrees by the time we got in there. So that it had warmed up like 45 degrees by the time we figured out what was going on. So it was crazy. But say that to say, I didn't go to sleep like that night. Like I didn't fall back asleep because how do you like? We didn't get done till 6:30 with all the paperwork and junk like that. And after that, I had an 8 a.m. So I went to class because I'm a nerd. But and a studious achievement. Keenum would be proud of me. You know, shout out Mark Keenum. Anyways, so my sleep schedule's been off, to say the least, but I'm trying to get it back on. But because of that, I'm like a little bit tired. But that doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. You know, cool antidote to the life of DJ, if you were wondering. But yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ryson. You got anything interesting that happened over this past week with you?
Seeing you. Why you laugh?
Thanks. My bad.
Why you laugh?
It's not funny. You're right.
Ain't nothing funny.
Yeah, right.
Nah, I was in the union, bro. I was in the union. But yeah, seeing you was top one for sure.
Right.
I was in the union, and I walked in that joint, and I saw this dude, this tall, lanky dude with a beanie on his head. And then he looked at me, he said, huh? I was like, oh, snap, that Trav. He said, that Bryson. That man took off running across the union, left his food, his backpack, everything. And man, gave me a hug. Like, I missed you, man.
Hey, that's a mark of a true friend, bro.
Just for context, we came back to school, last week? Well, we've been in school for 2 weeks now because we, our age, but everybody came back officially last week. Yeah. We had a snowstorm in Mississippi, apparently. Ice storm, really, bro. Yeah. And this man, Trav, got stuck at the crib. Because, bro, my man said, when the snow come, that's when I'm going to pack. I mean, he did.
He did.
And he got stuck at the house for 5 days?
Whole week, bro. They had my man in hostage, bro. They had him kidnapped, bro. I mean, he couldn't leave, bro, because the snow wouldn't melt. Like, I see the picture. I was like, dang, the snow's still there. He said, man, it hasn't snowed in 5 days. And they still had snow. That's crazy. But, hey, man, he here now. We glad that he here, bro. Appreciate Trav, man. Well, you know how we always start these episodes off.
How we do it?
You know, I got to ask the question, man. What has been your favorite conversation for this week?
You know what I'm saying? When I really just think about it.
Why'd you ask me? Now that you asked me that question, I've been trying to find myself.
This man. But, definitely, I had to say a conversation I just had today, actually, with Pastor Brandon. It was my first time actually meeting him. Shout out Verge, put me on game. Shout out Stewart as well. Right. Bro, that man, he got some wisdom, bro. He got some wisdom. I'm 20 years old, my voice cracking, and it's crazy.
Hey, man. You're still growing, that's what it says.
Indeed. I'm finna hit about 6'2" next year.
For sure.
But, yeah, Pastor Brandon, he was basically saying, taking that man in the arena mindset. And, tying it back to myself, is I feel like the Lord told me, take a leap of faith this year. And whatever that means, basically just trusting him. And then, last night at FCA, I feel like he laid the word boldness on me. and just really just processing, thinking through that. And he was like, the man in the arena mindset. Basically, like, put yourself out there. Like, whatever God presents to you, like, trust him with it, go do it, and know that, like, on the other side of that, there's a blessing in that immediate obedience. Yeah, so, like, really just been thinking about that and really pondering on the man in the arena mindset, taking every opportunity and, like, learning from it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, God can use anything. Because, like, Pastor Brandon used to be a professional baseball player. Yeah, and what's crazy is, like, that didn't pan out or last how he wanted it to, because he ended up getting hurt in his shoulder. But that was a gateway for him to help his ministry when he was a youth pastor, because he was able to go to high schools and talk to people because he had professional baseball attached to his name. So it's like, when you take that man in the arena mindset, it's like, you know, I take these opportunities, and these opportunities can be another tool in my belt. So I never know when I have to pull them out, but when I do, when the Lord leads me to, like, it'll be worth it. Yeah.
That's good. So it's kind of like seeing your experiences as just new tools to be added to your, you know, it made me think of like Batman.
Yeah.
You know?
Utility belt.
Yeah, the utility belt, you know? And like, I don't know if you've ever played the Arkham games, but like,
Crazy.
top tier games, man. But the Arkham games, you know, like, as you go through the story, like, you get new gadgets.
Yeah.
And like, and the gadget may be for a specific situation, but then after that, you get to keep that gadget, and then you get to find creative ways to use the gadget again.
Yeah.
And so I think, man, that's good right there. Just talking about like life, that like we can either let an experience add to our utility belt or take away from our utility belt. Right? We can either let it enable us or disable us.
Yeah.
That's good, bruh. No,
for real.
we can let experiences enable us or disable us. And so if we let it enable us, then, man, we get to use those experiences, bad or good, to empower other people and to empower ourselves. But if we let those experiences, bad or good, disable us, we detract from our own potential, but we also can siphon the ability from other people, because now we're discouraging people from taking steps of faith. We're discouraging people from this or that. And so we got to let our experiences be enablers towards our purpose and not disablers. So that's good.
Spitting.
Amen.
Spitting.
Shout out Holy Spirit, man.
Spitting.
For that. No, that's really good. And Pastor Brandon, shout out Pastor Brandon. That man is wise.
Yeah.
That man is amazing.
Yeah. So DJ, you know how we start off the podcast. You know, I gotta ask the question. So, what was your favorite conversation this week?
That's a good question, bro.
You know,
that's a really good question.
You know what I'm saying? It really just came out top of the dome for real.
Dude, that's genius right there.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You're genius.
Appreciate it.
Hey, man, that's a good question, man. You know, I guess it's in within a week span. It didn't happen this week per se, but it has happened within the week. I talked to this resident. His name's Thad.
Hey,
shout out Thad.
Shout out Thad.
Hey, man, I kind of want to get him on the pod, man, because this man's understanding of church history, faith in general, both inside of the Christian worldview and outside, is something I've never met like before from someone who's not like in a Bible college. Like, of course, like when I go home and I talk to my friends from like Milestone College and DTS and stuff like that, you know, because they're studying this literally, like they know it, but like from someone who's just, you know, he a business major. I think he's a business majors. Hopefully he's a business major. But I'm pretty sure he's not in a theology type major. He's understanding, and he went to Samford for a semester, which that's a Christian. Yeah, it's a Christian private school. But I mean, it was just not only in his just awareness of that, but his awareness of racial, like just understanding, because he's a white guy. But his just empathy and awareness towards the issues of as me as a black man, you know. No diss to anybody who lives in Oak, but the typical people I meet in Oak are not, you know, they grew up in small town Mississippi, you know, not haven't interacted with that much with people who are outside their own race. And I'm just being for real. And that's just generally can be the case, and especially in somewhere like Mississippi. I was talking to someone today who said, you know, I don't have that many white friends. if I'm not interacting with them through work or anything like that, I'm not, I don't spend that much time. But I think, I mean, that's a whole nother lesson even in that, but like how important diversity is in expanding your worldview. And I think it sets you apart whenever you have a diverse worldview.
Yeah, it's kind of like food. You know, it's dangerous to eat the same thing over and over again. It's because your body does not get the nutrients that it needs.
That's good.
Because you keep absorbing those same nutrients, you're going to end up lacking somewhere else.
That's good. No, I mean, that's a bar right there. Because, I mean, it really is like that. I mean, like we see like political extremism, religious extremism, all that. If you're constantly consuming just one worldview or mindset, everything else sounds crazy or sounds just intolerable, right? Like you become intolerant to everything else. If this is all you're consuming, then everything else is uncomfortable, it's unsafe, and you don't even want to touch it, you know? And so, anyways, I said to say, man, this man, like we talked about, of course, faith, and then we talked about racial just relations, and then we talked about politics and stuff like that, and it was just a really great conversation. And that was my first interaction with the guy. I mean, like I'd met him in passing before, because he's friends with some of the residents that are on my campus, but like to get just this. To have just this deep dive conversation with him, it was so wonderful, and especially since starting this year, I've really, I'm started my Bible in 2 years plan, but with that, I've really gotten into like academic biblical scholarship. Some from who are believers, and then there's some people who are not even believers who are like have a historical analysis of Jesus and stuff like that. And I think that stuff is just so interesting, and so. Man, I love talking to him because I think he's Presbyterian, and typically Presbyterians are really big on like truth, and I'm don't want to get anything wrong or offend anybody, but if I'm not mistaken, Presbyterianism comes from like the Reformed theology standpoint, which is very about on truth and big on stuff like that. And while they're whatever side you may fall in that conversation, I think there is value in them wanting to understand truth, like biblical truth, and other people, and in valuing that. And so I just really loved the conversation that I got to have with him.
That's what's
really
up.
Dope. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fire, bro.
No, it's really fun. And like I said, I would hope, he'll be someone we'll get on the pod one day. I mean, I think we have a huge thing coming up with our college ministry, actually. You know about it, right? Yeah, with Cliff Mitchell.
Bro, that's so fire.
And if you don't know who Cliff Mitchell is, Travis didn't know. Well, Travis, now you know, man. Surprise, man. Cliff Mitchell is going to be here. And for those who don't know, he's a American pastor and Christian apologist who goes onto college campuses and just has open-ended conversations about faith. And he's another person who I just admire a lot. Not even from, one, definitely from the Christian just standpoint, but just from his valuing of academic honesty in conversation, right? The fact that he knows what he knows, and he knows that he knows that he knows it, right? And he can defend it with intelligence. Hold on, y'all, I gotta turn on my do not disturb. I forgot to do that. It's on me. But he can defend it with just a level of intelligence and poise and care without getting emotional, without resorting to petty insults or criticisms. And I think it's just such an amazing thing. And so I'm really excited to see him in person. But I think there's a value in just of truth and in valuing truth, know, especially in a culture that pushes kind of a truth is relative. Because me and Bryson were talking actually earlier, because I'm reading this book, Plato, not Plato, Republic by Plato, but it's originally it's narrating an argument with Socrates that Socrates is having with a couple other philosophers, and we were just talking about philosophy, and we live in a postmodern age of where truth is subjective and all of those things, and so I don't know. Bryson, I would actually, ask you, like, just what is your opinion on, like, where do you place the value of truth, and like, where do you think we as a culture and as a society, where our direction or even just sense of truth needs to come from?
So I was in consumer behavior today, right? And in consumer behavior, we were talking about these external factors that, our own consumers, right? Yeah. And one of the things we talked about was the individualistic culture versus the family culture, right? And the United States, like, we're a lot more individualistic. Yeah. And with us being a lot more individualistic, like, we focus on, my truth versus your truth. Right. And this past weekend I was at a retreat at FCA, and this man, like, he's been a Christian for 58 years. Dang. He got saved at 10 years old, like, legit gave his life to Jesus at 10. And man, he said, your truth, your truth is not the truth. He said the only truth is Jesus. Yeah. And I think, like, nowadays, like I said before, going back to it, I think we all have kind of adopted, unfortunately, this, like, individualistic mindset. It's like, oh, what I say or, how I live, that's how this how the world should go, right? But in reality, I think truth, in my opinion, everybody's not going to agree with me, but I think the real truth is found in Scripture. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I kind of don't like the my truth thing. Yeah. I know I agree with, we all have stories, we all have lives, things we've been through, but the whole, like, it's my truth versus your truth, or it's my truth versus whatever truth there is, like, I don't agree with that. Right. Yeah.
No, so when I was in a period of my life where I was really questioning the validity of the faith, of my faith, right? And whether I wanted to renounce my beliefs as a Christian and just live my life as an agnostic or whatever during COVID, one of the things that I could never get past is this question that I don't really think there's a good answer for. And that's the base. Where is the basis of morality without a God? And so what I would pose to someone, because we do have people who are non-believers who watch this, or people who are may even be believers but still kind of saying, well, I like that concept of, it's their truth versus my, I think that mindset in itself doesn't sound dangerous, but the question I would pose to anybody listening is that question of, where does morality come from if there is no God? And so I want to explain that. So where does morality come from if there is no God? Because from a basic, not even from a Christian worldview standpoint, from a basic understanding of what a God is supposed to be, it's the creator, right? The originator, right, of the universe, right? And as the originator of the universe, they are able to set laws into motion, right? So that's the law of gravity, the law of time and space, the law of all these things, right? If the universe has no originator, right? It is just, or it originated on random happenstance. That means that the laws that apply or have to be truly objective, right? If it originates from random happenstance, and that if we exist on random happenstance, right, or if there is no God who is lording over us or cares for us or created us, that means that everything that we've done is random, right? And so the understanding of human goodness has evolved over time, right, from a secular standpoint, right? And so if there is no objective moral standard, right, why does what I say is good supersede what you may say is good? And I think that's a really powerful question, because usually when I pose this question of, okay, where does morality come from if there is no God, then the answer I usually get is, well, we as a society decide what's good and bad, right? Society thought slavery was A-okay up until about 200 years ago, right? And even then, depending on where you're at, slavery is still a very rampant thing, right? Now, in general, we would say it's way more looked down upon than it was back then. But for a long time, it was A-okay. So if society is the governor of morality, so does that mean slavery was okay during that time? It's just not okay now, right? And so that society can't be the answer, right? And so if morality is based off of a human understanding, that means morality is ultimately subjective. And if morality is ultimately subjective, you know what that means?
What's up?
It's not a real thing, right? Because every human concept, if it's just a human concept, it's not a real thing, right? It's just our way of making sense of the world, but in its essence, it's actually not something that matters. So that means murder isn't really wrong. It's just that we as a culture have agreed that it's not wrong. It means that stealing is not really wrong. It's just we as a culture have agreed. But if we all agreed that stealing was okay or murder was okay, then it would be okay. And so that was a question I could never get past, right? And it was something that it was something I couldn't accept, right? That if there was no God, then morality was subjective, and I had to be okay with that, right? Because there is no source of morality other than an originator of the universe, right?
Yeah.
Because if my morality is my morality, either I get to say I'm superior to everyone else, and that's why everyone should obey me, right? Or which in essence makes me God, right? Or we have to accept that our moralities is just how we interpret things, right? And so then there's no such thing as good and evil, and nothing is really wrong. It's just how you see it.
Yeah.
And I would pose that question in that thought experiment to anyone who may be on the fence or may agree with, my truth, your truth, is that if it is my truth, your truth, then there is no truth. And we have to be okay with that. And then I would ask, are you okay with that? Are you okay that murder may not really be wrong? Are you okay that stealing may really not really be wrong? It's just about how you interpret it. I wasn't okay with that. So then I had to go figure out the answer. And that answer ultimately led me back to Christ.
Yeah.
But I think, man, that it was a question that a lot of Christian apologists pose. And it's one that I've never, from the research I've done, from like intelligent atheist thinkers to, your average Reddit atheists, nobody has ever given me an answer that I think is satisfying enough and that doesn't have massive paradoxical holes in it.
Yeah.
So that's DJ's lesson in Christian apologetics. But
Yeah, nah, it's just, and even scripture to back that, it's just, it made me think about when Lord. When Jesus talked about the double-minded man, don't be tossed to and fro with the wind, right? And you know how like you brought up the point where somebody said like society is what what founds these morality, right? But if we think about that, society changes all the time. Like you said before, at some point slavery was cool. Somebody was like, yo, these folks getting whipped in the back and they getting my cotton. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? And somebody was like, no, that's not right. But if we go off of what society says, we'll be like the scripture says, we'll be a double-minded man, tossed to and fro. And we won't have a foundation because the foundation is always going to be shifting and changed. So when the rain comes, when there's opposition against what we consider morality, it sweeps it away. So therefore, like you said, there is no morality if we live life like that because it's always going to be changing. And then when somebody comes to push back on that, well, what do you think about this? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's all gone.
No, you're right. It's morality built on sand, right? It's built on humans. It's built on sand. And there is no answer to morality besides an originator, right? And then if we go from there, we realize that originator is a divine being of some sort. And then from there, I mean, you investigate and, I say we can go into all the Christian apologetics of, the historical proof of Jesus and then all these things like that I think will lead that. I think there's I think people think that you have to turn your brain off for faith, right? It's like you leave your brain at the door and just we all dumbly sing about this guy Jesus who died and he rose. We don't think about it, but he rose, right? Because if we think too hard, then we won't be right. And that there's this false dichotomy between science and faith, right? This false dichotomy between logic, right, and believing in something that you may not be able to comprehend or understand, right? But I think there's way more of a union between the two of them. I mean, the birth of science is in the church.
Yeah.
Like it comes from it's called natural philosophy, and from natural philosophy you see the birth of the scientific method and all these things that become the foundations for what we see science today. Yeah. So and there's nothing wrong with wanting to understand the creation that's been laid before us. It talks about that just even in Genesis, go out, be fruitful and multiply and take dominion over the earth, right? We're called to have dominion over the earth and to understand it and to care for it and to just steward it. Right?
Exactly.
And there is no separation between the two. And if there is a separation of the two, that's a false dichotomy, right? It's a fallacy, right? Because there isn't a difference, right?
Yeah.
And I think the more that you just even investigate things, I forget who said it, but there is some thinker who said something about I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, right? Sorry, we're getting really deep into apologetics, but I think it's so good. But I mean, another quick anecdote. I'll be fast with this.
No, you good, bro? Do your thing.
It takes a lot of faith to not believe that there's an originator of the universe. Because to essentially say that the universe is random, you have to accept that there's a lot of things that fell into place, right? Not just I'm talking 30 things. I'm talking millions and millions of things. And so I use this example that, let's say you go down every day, right? And you eat your alphabet cereal every morning, right? And you go to school, right? One day you come down to eat your alphabet cereal. You get excited, grab the box. You look on the kitchen table, and there it's spelled. It says, "Clean up after you're done. Love, Mom." Right? Now, it is possible. It is completely possible that that box fell over and those letters assembled themselves in that function and in that way to spell out that message, right? It's completely possible that happened, right? Yeah. But it is so unlikely of a probability that you would basically go ahead and count it as an impossibility that happened, right? And you would instead say that there was an intelligent designer behind the intelligent design. And so if we look at this universe, it is way more different things that need to work out and I'm blanking on the word, but there's a bunch of things that had to fall into place, way more than just what I just described to make our universe work. An example is the strong and weak nuclear current. So the universe is built off of some basic ratios, right? Some basic ratios of numbers. So the strong and weak nuclear current, if the ratio was off by 0.0000, I'm talking hundreds of zeros, right? 1, 0.0, all those to 1, stars couldn't exist. Stars can't exist, we can't exist, right? By the understanding of if we originated just off of random happenstance. And then as you would just investigate more and more, it's man, this sounds really impossible to be just random, right? And then, even the Fermi paradox of, if life is as possible as it is from random happenstance, why isn't there more yet? There's just so many things that when you really investigate, you go okay, no matter what, you have to put your faith in something, right? So you can put your faith in a designer and a God who created the universe, who loves you, wants a relationship with you, and you can accept that as your faith and worldview, or you can say, man, this is all happened randomly, and this is all a bunch of random probabilities. But regardless, is you're putting your faith in something, because at the end of the day, you weren't there, right? And you have to accept, man, that there's faith happening regardless, right? Whether you want to call it faith or not, there's faith happening regardless. And so I just think that's so interesting.
Man, Professor DJ on the mic, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I gave a thought to a lot of these things because I'm a very logical person, and so even the want of having faith is something that I'm very abject towards from just my personal makeup, right? Like my tendency is to be more skeptical than it is to be believing or whatever. And so, man, I've given these things a lot of thought, and the arguments that have been presented to me are more than convincing, to the point, like I think it makes more sense. Like if you as an intelligent person, how could you not basically believe that there's a God?
Yeah.
Like on the basis of just believing there's a God, right? Maybe you don't believe in Christianity as the worldview, but on the basis of not believing there is a God, I think you gotta really ignore a lot. And so I don't know, that may equip somebody who's a believer here today in arguments, or not arguments, but in discussions with people who are non-believers of bringing this up, that like, man, you're not checking your brain at the door.
No.
Right? You're actually having very much a opinion backed by a lot of fact, So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, even like you said, bro, like it takes a lot of faith to do anything, like to believe in anything. It took faith to sit in these chairs,
Right?
Because we were like believing that they weren't gonna break.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then like even just going back to the designer thing, right? Just making it as simple as possible. When you walk around campus and you see these buildings, they just didn't pop up. They just didn't come up out the ground.
Yeah.
Somebody had to design and build them joints.
Right.
And we know that an architect, we know that carpenters, like construction workers, all them folks like did their thing, right?
Yeah.
And we don't question that
Yeah.
because we can see the human thing, but like just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we don't see the air molecules in the air. If you get a microscope, but who walking around with a microscope, G? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, actually, I am.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we can sit here and try to like rationalize things, and I don't know, man. I think so much. I don't know, bro. I feel like a lot of times we end up trying to like dwindle down God, but if we could dwindle down God, then He wouldn't be God. You know what I'm saying? Because if we could understand Him in His full complexities, then He would just be like us.
Yeah.
But God is outside of time. He's outside of space. He's outside of the human brain. It literally says in scripture, like, His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So, like, I feel like that's why it's so hard for some people to have, like, genuine faith in Him, because they try so hard to, like, reduce Him down into this man that's just ruling over the earth, that just made everything, and then was like, all right, y'all got it. But in reality, He's a lot more complex than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's good. Is like you said, if we try to dwindle God into something that we understand, it's a paradoxical thing, right? We're playing our losing game, right? It's a game you can't win, right? Because you can't reduce something that is literally outside of the concept of your understanding. Like, have you ever tried to like imagine space, like in just the vastness of space, and like how much that hurts your brain? Like literally doing that like messes with or like just thinking about time like for too long literally like messes with your brain, because you can't comprehend like an understanding, or trying to imagine a new color, like all these things, right? Like we can't do, right?
Yeah.
But like we know there's other colors out there, right? We have never seen it and we never will, right? But there's evidence of it, right? And so I think, man, like I said, trying to reduce God, right, into this box, man, we're playing a losing game, right? And it's a game that we'll come up and we'll say, man, reducing God into this box was impossible, so God must be impossible, right? But that's the wrong approach to take. It's not that He's impossible, it's that the method that you're trying to understand Him with is impossible, right? Because you're trying to understand Him in everything. And so like when we even remove that from the scope of just even from a logical standpoint, we look about, okay, what does this mean in our personal lives? Maybe there's things that haven't moved yet, right? That you haven't seen breakthroughs through yet, because you keep trying to put God in a box He was never supposed to be in. And so you're calling the situation impossible, the thing you've been praying for, impossible. The addiction you've wanted to break from, impossible. Because you're not let God be God, and you're trying to enlarge yourself and diminish him. That's a word right there, man. That's powerful right there. Well, shoot, man, that's good.
Yeah,
I can't even cap, bro. Like that's really good, man. Yeah. So, no, man, I've loved that. Well,
shout out you, bro. You smartest freak, my brother.
Man,
Very
to God be the glory.
intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Logical, methodical. You know what I'm saying?
Logically, man. No, I mean,
not mythological because it's real.
Tell him. Look in the camera. Yeah, that's right. He just stared y'all down because it's real, bro. This ain't no fake stuff. This real deal, Holyfield. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? But no, man. I mean, I think, man, as a Christian, Brandon, be smart. Don't be dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like for real. Like actually, it's like for real a lesson. Like, don't be dumb, right? Don't check your brain out. Don't be too afraid to investigate these things yourself, right? Don't be afraid to ask God questions. Don't be afraid to say, man, this doesn't make sense, and I don't really like it. Let me go look into it, right? Don't be afraid that because you do it, right, you're going to become smart, so smart that you're going to be too smart for God, because that'll never happen, right? That's not how that works, and I think a lot of people are living with that fear because we as humans, I forget, like there was some sort of psychological study that talked about like how being proven wrong like hurts more than like getting stabbed or something like some like from a psychological level, like being disproven is very psychologically uncomfortable for the human, right? I mean, just think about it. When somebody's like, you're wrong and here's why you're wrong, right? Especially in a public setting, that embarrassment that you feel and all that, like, I mean, you think about that for a while.
It's like a quick 1-2 punch.
Exactly. You know, Muhammad Ali, bro, knock it, you know what I'm saying? Like, out like that, bro. No, I mean, that junk hurts. And so people, because they don't want to feel that uncomfortableness of being proven wrong, won't even investigate, right? So we have a lot of Christians living in this anti-intellectual understanding and worldview that they think that faith has to mean the death of logic, right? When God is the author of logic, right? He's the author of all these things. Why would he not want you to understand it? And yeah, of course, there's going to be ideological perspectives that push, you know, secularism and humanisms and stuff like that. But you can, like, I'm listening to a lecture by a guy who, I mean, he doesn't like confirm or, you know, confirm his religious convictions or anything, but like based off of the way that he talks and criticizes, I would say he probably isn't a believer, right? Right? And I'm not afraid to listen because it's a lecture at Stanford about the historicity of Jesus, the historical Jesus, right? Or Yeshua, as he refers to him in the lectures. And I think, man, like this is like a new perspective, like a new understanding, right? I'm gaining new knowledge, right? That can equip me further for kingdom work, right? And to allow me, like if I was too afraid, right, to really dive into the original questions that I had, right, with my faith and wanting to walk away, right, then I would never be able to stand here right now, right? You know, going back to what we were talking about earlier, full circle moment, man, that experience equipped me and enabled me to now be a more powerful force for the kingdom. Because now I can go into a circle like the, you know, atheist agnostic club, you know, and be comfortable, right, to defend my faith with logic and understanding with no fear, because I know that my faith is backed up from not just from an experiential standpoint, which that is a facet of it, but also from a logical standpoint, right? And so as a Christian, man, don't be afraid, right, to be smart, man. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay. God is ready for them. God wants them. And you'll be surprised that you actually come out with more faith and understanding in your beliefs than with less.
Indeed. And you know who asks questions in the Bible?
Who?
Job. There's literally a whole encounter with God of him breaking down everything that he does. And Job is like, dang, bro.
Yeah.
My bad, fam. I didn't know you was built like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, God is not afraid of your questions. He's not.
Not at all.
Just watch them show up and show out.
Yeah. Amen. Well, shoot. Well, originally where I was going with this episode, I was going to ask, like, what was your biggest takeaway from the break? But then we went on all that. But we got a little bit more time.
Yeah, we do.
So I think to do a little bit of a pivot, shout out to Apologetics 101 from Professor Reeves and Professor Hardy.
This man. Before we shift, I will say, if you like some intelligent Christians, right, check out the Southside Rabbi podcast, bro. KB and Amin, some of the dopest dudes, some of the most intelligent dudes. Lord, I'm tongue-tied. Intelligent dudes I've never listened to. They break down a lot of good stuff, a lot of political views, a lot of social views, and they do it very well with the faith in the background. So I love it.
No, shout out Southside Rabbi, 100%. Like you said, huge. And, you know, I think they both have theological backgrounds, like in educations and stuff like that. And so, once again, you'd be surprised because, I mean, some people think, a theology degree, that just means you read the Bible a lot. Nah, man.
Hermeneutics and hermeneutics, my brother.
They got words you have never even, I mean, just crazy stuff, man. And just in intelligence, like you would just never even think of, man. Like just incredibly smart. And so, man, like I said, like Bison said, it is definitely worth checking out Southside Rabbi. Yeah, Rabbi. See, I'm doing it too. But we'll leave the link in the description for that. But for our final few minutes here before we conclude episode 1 of season 3.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know, crazy stuff. Man, I wanted to see, man, what would you say is your, we had our hiatus, our break, or Christmas break, or holiday break, as they say in the public school settings. But anyways, I wonder, you got to do some cool things, man. You went to Passion, and you got a dope experiences, back at home and stuff like that. So I just ask you, man, what do you think have been some of your biggest takeaways during the break?
Biggest takeaways, man. Probably just trusting God, man. Trusting God despite what man says, despite what I say. Like, just trusting God and standing firm on Him. Having experiences to where I was able to, get back with my homie Levi, and we were able to run the Holy Steppers. I was able to do a men's night, which is pretty dope, like outside of the church, and give a sermon there. And man, just basically just trusting God. Yeah. Cause like there was certain times where it was like things I didn't know. I didn't know how certain situations were gonna pan out, and I'm still, walking and working through these things. So it's really been an ongoing process of just trusting God despite myself, because I'm a guy that loves details. I love to plan things out. I love to figure out the intricacies of things. But God, He'd be like, "Yeah, that's cool, but trust me." And I'd be like, "For sure, big homie." Right. For sure. So trust would definitely be a big one for me. What about you, bro?
Well, actually, I want to ask a question.
What's up?
What was it like planning a men's event?
It was dope, bro. Like that whole week, just seeing everything come together, it wasn't nothing but the hand of God, bro. Nothing but the hand of God. Cause like, man, I remember hitting up Pastor Josiah at Vibrant. Y'all should check out that episode from last season. You know what I'm saying?
Like that?
You know what I'm saying? But actually 2 episodes.
2 episodes.
You know what I'm saying? But chopping it up with him, I asked him, I was like, "Yo, can I get like some Bibles?" And I was like, I'm about to rest, but can you spot me like 10 of them? And he was like, "How many you need?" I said about 30 or 40, but I'm gonna buy some. He was like, "Okay, bet." And I was like, "Okay." So he was like, "Yeah, pull up to the church. We got you some Bibles." So I'm sitting here thinking, "Okay, you finna give me about 10. I'm gonna go buy the rest from Amazon." Bro, I go to the church. This man give me like 40 Bibles. Man, 40 Bibles, a whole tomato crate full of Bibles. Got a tomato crate in my room right now. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's fruit.
That's good.
Don't lie, bro.
That wasn't funny.
It's deep, bro.
That was deep. That's good.
It's fruit, bro.
That's good. That's powerful.
But then, so had the 40 Bibles, man. So was able to do the Holy Steppers. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Like planning the event. My mom is an event coordinator. She has her own event space. So she got the venue secure with her. That was pretty dope. And then, man, by the grace of God, I have an amazing partner in my girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? We pulled together some money. We saved some tithes over, I think, like 2 months or something like that. And I was able to, buy food for the guys.
Yeah.
So I planned out the food, bought some decorations, little small stuff, ain't nothing crazy. And my mom already had some, so bought some holiday plates, things like that. Got some communion juice, which is really just grape juice and saltine crackers.
They don't got to know about that, though.
You know what I'm saying? Got all of that. And then, man, let the Lord just lead me and guide me as I prepared to share a word, a sermon. And that was just crazy in itself because I felt led to post that on YouTube. Yeah. Posted it there. Man, it was just a dope week. And then, like, having that on Tuesday and then turning back around on Thursday, being able to open back up the church gym and have a Holy Steppers night where we gave out free Bibles for Christmas. Well, I guess you could say for Christmas, but it was just free Bibles in general. And believing that it was some good seeds planted. So it was just, that whole week was just dope, man. It felt like I was walking in purpose. And like I'm really all in with this ministry thing, man. Yeah.
Dude, that's what's up, man. No, I think it's a lot different than when you just participate in something and then when you plan it, man, we got to see all of it come together.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's why I was just like curious because I from knowing the small events I've planned, man, like that's a lot of work.
One small, bro. Stop dwindling down yourself, fam.
Hey, well,
this man, be quiet, bro. This man playing like two of the dopest photo shoots I've never seen in my life.
Hey, it's
what else he playing? He helped orchestrate this podcast, famo. You know what I'm saying? Take 3 people, and guess who's one of the 3? Derry and Joseph Hardy. You feel me? What else? What does this man do? He organized a prayer night in the spring. That was like one of the biggest prayer nights on campus. You feel me? He was talking to all the campus ministries. This man got connections everywhere. Like, stop that, bro. Okay. You playing all the time, G. Don't even do that.
All right, man. Thank you, Bryson. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for letting me witness your plan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, bro, if that computer science stuff don't work out, strategic planning, bro. Hey, that's your calling.
Thank you.
Real talk.
Hey, no, that's a blessing. It's a blessing. Well, no, and all of it, to God be the glory.
To God be the glory. It's just thank God, man. I like to thank my mom and my dad for having me, for giving me the chance to go to Mississippi State University, for my little sister for always being there for me and just cheering me up when I was down. All my friends, thank you guys. And shout out Texas, because wouldn't be me without the home state,
The home state.
And my church milestone, because you guys helped me reach so many milestones. Oh man, gosh. Oh man, it's so many people. The list could go on. Thank you guys so much. And so yeah, man, to God be the glory. God be the glory. Yeah. God be the glory.
No, okay. You're right. All right. So the events I've planned, which have been successful.
Yeah, there we go.
Well coordinated.
Mm-hmm.
All glory to God. Gotta put that on. But,
indeed, yes.
Yes. I know how much it is. You pour into that, and so like you said, man, it's a walking on purpose moment, and you grow. I think not only just in you do the preaching part or the or whatever speaking part that you do, but you also do the planning part, and you also do the coordinating part, and so God grows you in a lot of areas, and so I think it's even like, man, I love and I'm so happy when people start things, right? Like, and this is the start of the new year, so a lot of people are in there like, I'm going to start this. But, man, do it, man. Start it. Start the podcast. Start the event. Start the club. Start all of that.
Do it.
Like, do it, man, because, like, it may fail. It may not work out. You may get 2 views. You may, I had to go through, there's a lot of, I think Bryson, he talks about this concept of developing in the dark. There's a lot of unsuccessful endeavors that I've done that have led me to this point where I am now, right? Like, me and Bryson didn't come out the gate with the dope promo that we did first for our first, announcement video of the podcast, and a well-designed logo and a well-designed YouTube and Instagram page. We didn't come out the gate with that first try, right? DJ, I know I've been doing creative YouTube channels and stuff like that since I was 8, bro. Like, one of my favorite videos ever is my first YouTube video I have. I gotta show y'all, bro. It's on my Google Drive. That junk is hilarious, bro.
It is, man.
And so, man, doing that, I started an organization called Conversations on Injustice. And so I had to learn how to run an Instagram with that, run a Discord with that, and a community through that, man. You know, Travis and his testimony of like where he started off in college and then now where God has him now, but the experience that he had, he's designed, I kid you not, the biggest compliment we get for the podcast isn't Bryson, it isn't me, it isn't any of the stuff that our hand may be primarily on, although people compliment that. But the biggest compliment we get is that logo. Mm-hmm. That logo is tough. Mm-hmm. That logo in the hoodie, fire, right? and that's Travis, right? And Travis will tell you there's a journey through there, man. And you know, Bryson, same thing, man, with, you know, the Holy Steppers and junctions he did. I mean, I remember when he did his first little Bible study, he only did it like once or twice that first time when we both came.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. But that was seeds planted for what is now even growing into now with how even much larger, like the Holy Steppers have gotten out, how you learn how to, you know, plan and facilitate a community with the godly guys and stuff like that. That is now those lessons are being used now, man. And so, full circle moment again, saying that to say, start the thing that you want to do, man. Because it may not work out, but that's just another tool in your utility belt. So that when you become that success story, right, you have all those failures to draw back onto. And when people go, wow, man, I can't believe you did that, man. Like, that's amazing, right? You can say, man, it wasn't like that at first. Yeah. It was this failure here and this failure here. And look how God used those failures to bring me towards a greater level of success, man. And so that's dope. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
To answer the question, my part. But wait, you want to say something?
I was just going to say something real quick, man. Just, like, don't box God. Like, going back to that. The reason we appreciate Steph Curry as the greatest shooter of all time is because he's missed shots before. But now when he makes them, you know what I'm saying? It matters all the more. Right. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the missed shots. You got to have the missed shots to appreciate the ones that you make. Indeed.
That's a good one. One of the Bryson one-liners. I knew it was coming.
You know what I'm saying?
At some point, man. No, but to answer your question, mine was also like trust and faith as well, which I think is so interesting because we talked about that actually, off pod about there's some particular things I did where I took a step of faith, right? And being honest, it didn't work out, right? Or it didn't work out in the way I hoped, right? And I'm grateful I did it. I learned a lot. Yeah, it's a blessing, right? And what was crazy is like some of these decisions were like decisions that were like years or a year or two in the making, right? Like these things I've been thinking about for a while, but I've been so paralyzed by fear, right, of the what ifs, right? Yeah. That I refuse to do it. And so, like, man, when I finally did the what if, right, and like one of the what ifs happened, and I look back, I'm like, man, that didn't hurt nearly as much as I thought it was, right? I'm not like I'm gonna be okay, right? I'm gonna recover, man, and God is still good, right? And so I think, man, I mean, it was so good learning that lesson of like, man, sometimes you take steps of faith, right? Thinking it's the will of God. And it may be the will of God. It may just not be the season, or it may not be the will of God, or whatever it may be, right? But just take that step, right? Because if your heart is about, man, I want to do the will of God, you're not going to be off course for too long. Yeah.
And then you got to think about like you said before, there is other people's stories tied to your obedience. Like, you got to think about it. Yes, I had the event in my mom's building. Yes, she decorated for me because if it was up to me, we would just have paper plates and pizza. But if she didn't take that step of obedience to leave her nursing job to start an event coordinating business, I wouldn't be able to do an event like that. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But because she took that step of obedience, that opened up not only the door for her to serve people through her gifts that she has in event coordinating, you know, decorating, things of that nature, but it also opened up the door for me to be able to have something like that in motion. Yeah. So you never know, like, with you getting that thing that you feel burdened by, the thing that you want to get off of your chest, the thing that you want to start, the thing you want to do, like, you never know whose life is tied to your obedience. Right. So, like, don't box God. Don't box him, because you never know what will happen when you open up that box, because what's on the inside of that box just might surprise you.
That's good. No, I mean, don't box God. And like I said, it's not even about just the successes, right?
Yeah.
It's about the failures too, right?
Mhm.
Like not every step of faith leads to the outcome you want, right?
Yeah.
And God's still good. And it's another experience that is only moving you further towards your purpose, right?
Indeed.
And I think, man, that's so valuable. Is like, what is worse? The constant burden of the man I should have, or the consequences of man I did and it didn't work out, but I'm still here, right? Like living with the constant of, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have taken the plunge on this, right? And, you know, there's wisdom and discernment in that, because
Most
not
definitely.
every action, like if you feel the urge to go DM Beyonce, like you probably don't need to DM Beyonce, right? Like you don't need to be God told me you're going to be my wife. like you don't need to be, like, not every decision that you want to make is the right decision to make. But if you feel a legitimate, like, lingering burden to do something, man, and you're worried about what will people think, or what if this isn't the right decision? If your heart is in the direction of, man, I want to please the Lord, then you have nothing to worry about, because it could be the wrong direction, but God will course correct. Like he's never gonna let you go off the wrong path and be like, stupid.
Yeah.
You should have known better, right? You make that wrong decision, man, just get right back on path, right? And so if our focus becomes less about making the right decision and more about having the right heart, I think we would be a lot better and a lot further along in all of our purposes, man.
Yeah, bro, got to turn the GPS on, the God positioning system.
Did you come up with that?
Just in the top of my dome. Shout out Holy Spirit.
That's good, bro.
Yeah. But I will say, just real quick in closing, like on the other side of your failure just may be your purpose. Cause like the basketball didn't plan out the way that I wanted to in my life, but because it didn't, I started diving deeper into my faith, because I know for sure if my life would have went how I wanted to and I was, pursuing basketball as hard as I was at the time, I would not be the Christian I am today, nor the man I am today. So like, because my life didn't pan out how I wanted it to initially, God used that, and now something that I love is tied to my purpose, which once brought me much pain because I was like, dang, I failed, I missed it. Now God has turned it and it's like, I get to do this, not only something that I love, I get to hoop, but I also get to bring Jesus into it. So like, just who knows, your failure, your flaws, your falls might be tied to your purpose. So like, don't give up and don't lose hope and don't fret over failure. And like, it's easy for me to say that sometimes because like, I'm a guy of details, but don't fret over failure, man. Like, everything gonna work out.
Right. No. And, like you said, man, I think sometimes, it's easy because, we got the platform and the pod to be like, don't fret failure, right? But like, we are still learning this actively.
I'm only 20, he only 19.
Exactly. We are still actively learning this. And so if you believe nobody is in this with you, we are, right? Like, even if we're just we're a screen apart, we are still with you on this, man. And so, like Bryson said, that's so encouraging. Don't, like, your fall may leave you exactly in the position you need to be for your purpose. So, man, that's good, man. Well, off with the fire. First episode back, man. Praise the Lord. Well, shoot, man, as we close, Bryson, you have anything that you want to add before we dip off of here? I got a staff meeting in 20 minutes.
You sure do, my boy. You sure do. Man, just like, you know what I'm saying? Think about the fall, you feel me? Like, when you fail, you know what I'm saying? Big homie Adam fell. And because he fell, the last Adam rose.
You better preach, Pastor. We gonna clip that.
Can the church say amen?
He been listening to Pray for Atlanta too much.
Shout out 1K Few.
Shout out to what? Fewski, bruh. All right, man. Well, that's good, bruh. Well, as we close off, as always, man, remember to subscribe and do all those things. You know, y'all already heard it, so I'm not gonna bore you with all that. But man, you know, check us out, man, because we may have some cool things coming up, man. You know, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, and you know, we gonna be doing something cool with that. You know, new merch, maybe. I don't know. We gonna figure it out. Just we gonna figure it out. But hey, you know, to know how you know, you follow the Instagram and the TikTok, all the platforms, man. Just do it, man. Also, if you want to be a guest, fill out that guest form as well, man. We got some spots. Hopefully, I don't think we may not have any more spots open up this season, but next season, you could always get on the pods. So, just being thought about that, man. But anyways, well, I think that's all for me, and it's all for you. So, Bryson, what do we say?
Y'all be blessed. Don't stress. Do less and let God take care of the rest. We out.
Yeah, I need a bag. Como se dice? I make a banger that got it on replay. Why they talking about